Nate, come on. Give me a hand with this. Okay.
Sully.
Welcome fellow gamers and Uncharted fans to what has been an epic E3 this year. As predicted, the amount of visual tour de force that's been on show and the plethora of games that have been shown has really pushed the bar higher than anyone could have anticipated or expected. None more so than Uncharted 4, but this is not a game without stiff competition. There is so much content and games for me to sift through and make some videos on. Hopefully you guys and girls will enjoy it, but right now I think this game deserves its own video first up, and this is the one we're going to hit hard. Now, Naughty Dog are always known for their ability to push the boundaries far further than anyone else expected. Now, these have been pushed very hard, with the likes of Ready at Dawn really raising the bar with the Order 1886. And Naughty Dog have come hard and heavy with some different options and some stunning demonstrations. This one is on the top of the pile, bettering even the infamous 2009 Uncharted 2 demo without question. Now, before I go into the details of breaking this trailer down to show you some of the points that you may or may not have seen, I just want to touch on some of the aspects that they're using here. Clearly the game most likely is not going to run 60 FPS. There is far too much stuff and content going on in this game for it to be aiming at that target still, I believe. That they could prove me wrong, and I'll be more than happy if they do. These guys and girls are geniuses, and I do not doubt their talent at all. But what they are doing here would push any machine, no matter how powerful it is, to the limit, and they really are raising the bar in that sense. But they could prove me wrong, like I say. It could still be 60 FPS. I think the best option would be an unlocked frame rate with an option to cap it to 30. Now, they're certainly using GPU compute. There is far too much physics calculation and interaction and dynamic action going on in this scene just to be running on the CPU alone, no matter how many cores the guys add up. Those CPU cores, they may be good to balance the work, and Naughty Dog have shown in my coding for PS4 that they are certainly adept at multi-threading their code well, but there's certainly more going on here than just that. Now, they're definitely using GPU compute, like I say, and most likely they're using the humour structure of the PS4 to share the workload between the CPU and GPU, because the amount of physics calculation going on is gameplay logic and dynamic based, so there would certainly need to be this sharing of resource to know what has gone on with the GPU side as well as the CPU. So this work, as I say, is something that they must be working through, but there's no point in going through the technical aspect just yet. We don't know specifically how they're doing it, we just know they're doing damn well. And to highlight how well and how far they're pushing it yet again, we can clearly see some of the improvements from the original PSX demo shown at December last year, and how far the game engine has moved on. So let's touch on some of those highlights. The first thing you can see is obviously the game now sports a good portion of motion blur, which was largely absent in the PSX demo. You've now got full radial blur, motion blur from the camera, and per object motion blur on movement, and this is dynamic across all objects in the game, from the barrels exploding, from the car moving, from Nate moving and running his legs, his arms, and just helps add more to that CGI look to the game. Obviously the physics interaction is vastly improved from the original showing, along with improvements to the character model. You can see the hair of Nate is more like the original reveal, with the dithering on his hair when he stands and stares at the front, along with the adaptive tessellation on the silhouette of both Nate and Sully. This just helps objects appear smoother and more lifelike and rounded, without wasteful tessellation across the whole object, which you won't see most of the time and is power hungry. It just tessellates the silhouette. Again, it's an intelligent use of the resource and power available. Another large area they've moved in, you can see as soon as you walk into the shot, draw distance is vast and impressive, and certainly they've been clever with the game design here by clearly showing you where the marker is on the level right at the very early point. You'll notice the game has no HUD at all. You can see all the umbrellas with the light penetrating not only on the top from the reflection, but also through the umbrella. Now this penetration throughout the scene can be seen on the leaves and edges as we walk further down the steps here. Look, as I circle, you can see the shadow casting through the leaf and again on the umbrella underneath. This use of light and the calculation of light is enhanced further by the green hue you can see it underneath the umbrella as the light penetrates, as it cascades that green light hue over the objects and the wall to the left there. This colour bleed is used throughout the Jeep chase, as you see as we drive underneath the flags. You can see the purple, green and orange hue as we drive under. Look at Nate's shirt and the Jeep as we go over. You can see it as it changes. Here as we enter underneath the last one, look at the purple hue just coming in on the objects, and then the truck goes back out. You can see the purple as we drive through. Look at the leather strap on Nate's neck and around his neck area, and then you see the colour bleed back in as we come out into light again. This use of colour and colour saturation in the scene is heavily used in this game. You get a shot as we walk out of the doors here, you see the colour bleed and saturation levels as the contrast dips, which is common now with HDR lighting in many games. You can also see the screen space reflection tricks in the game here as I circle, with the giveaway being the foreground objects occluding those objects. What they seem to be doing is putting a dither around the area so it doesn't highlight it so well, so it kind of bleeds into the object. Look around Sully's feet and Nate's arm as he's moving and punching the guy. You see the objects in the water reflection getting occluded by his arm as he's moving around that white area, but they dither around it to hide it better.
You good? Great. Floor it.
The other huge improvement, as expected, is the animation in the game. The contextual stuff that happens here as the gun goes off. The crowd reacts, but they don't react the same. They stagger their reaction. The people closest to the gun, as you see, they actually react first. You can see the half frame rate animation as it jumps in because they're distance away from the camera. This is quite common now in engines, limiting the amount of resource and update you need to do at certain parts. But again, you can see the crowd nearest to gun react first, and the crowd nearer to Nate, they react separately, and they all run off in different directions. You can see again the intelligent use of resource. As the characters run off the box, they all clip through and each other, which is not pulling fault, so diverting your eye from the things you don't notice to the things you do. What you do notice here is the bag of cement that falls off the top with the paint that blows up in the air. But also watch the cement bag. As it hits Nate's foot, it folds and then is kicked out of the way, reacting to him as he does. All of the objects on the table that are broken apply the laws of physics by rolling into the middle where it's broken. And then the bottle that falls off hits Nate on the shoulder before hitting the floor. Everything interacts with everything else. When Sully is shooting, the AI routines in the game are distracting enemies away from you so you can then flank them and kill them from the side. The same thing happens with the other guy. When he's shooting you, it gives Sully a free shot to take him down. And this AI cooperative play was as expected, an extension on what we saw in The Last of Us, and obviously we'll see it further in the game, I'm sure, with Sam. But you see another shot here where Sully distracts the guy by shooting him in a bulletproof vest, and Nate can then do his heroic dive down, punch in the face, grab the gun. Yep, it's definitely Uncharted.
Heads up! I'll take that.
To add further still to this, you can see in the fight scene here with Nate, as he catches him off guard, he hits the guy in the face twice, and as he falls back, he falls with momentum, hits the floor and kind of slides towards the wall a little bit, and then moves around. Again, this physical interaction is the same. Watch as Sully runs past, he actually trips a little on the guy that Nate took out, and nearly staggers and falls. This same reaction you can see here as Nate steps over the guy he's just taken out. He treads on his arm, and then the guy kind of twitches and moves because he's been trodden on. This interaction is throughout the entire game. Even when characters die, they fall on top of each other and fold over each other. This reaction and physical reaction in the game is consistent and is highly impressive. Watch as the truck smashes through the wall. You can see the globe in the back. When it gets knocked by the camera, it starts to spin. The pictures fall off the wall. Everything rumbles, and the guy falls into the cabinet, smashing it and slumping appropriately. This box slides into the way of Nate's leg as Sully runs up. He nearly trips over it and bangs out of the way. Everything destructs dynamically and procedurally. You can see the building and the wall breaking down, the tiles breaking off the wall as Nate is being shot at and shooting. Even the bags of rice as he's shooting start to deform and fold and spill out rice onto the floor, which then piles up into little piles of rice dynamically, which again is just something that most people wouldn't even care about. As the truck breaks through here, you can see the shadows casting through the plume of smoke from the rafts above. Everything breaking down procedurally. Smoke that receives light and shadow is very impressive. And effectively, they've created a world that just feels ultimately believable. The kind of dynamics in the game, the procedural breaking down, means that gameplay will change drastically. They've worked on the game mechanics, the core hook of the game. Everything is designed around your whip, your gun, your running, your fighting, your driving ability now. And the fact that the actual options in the game are huge. I mean, this is not an open world game, but it is open level design. You can choose many paths through this level, through the driving section later on, and fundamentally they're going back to the core mechanic and making sure that everything works seamlessly within the game. It seems to be built around the core aspect of Nate's skill set used throughout the game, giving you choice. You can choose how you want to work through a level, how you succeed, how you fail, which path you take, and this opens up so much scope in a game that most people moan about being linear. When he kicks the guy into the wood here, the wood breaks procedurally. It doesn't completely break through, unlike the other scene where he falls into the basket and it breaks through. When we move into the Jeep race sequence, we then see the other aspect of the engine that's moved on, and that is streaming. With it now supporting streaming assets, as we drive down the hillside, we can see that they've really gone to town on creating an engine that supports fast and highly detailed assets throughout the time that Nate drives down there. Also, the way that they're using LOD transitions is excellent, because you can barely see the drawing on some of the shadows and the AO stuff as it draws down the road. Again, the amount of people gives it that feel of an open world game, even though it's not. It's a linear game with an open level design. The same impressive physics engine we saw on the hand-to-hand sections are now present in the driving. You can see the Jeep tyres react differently to the area that they're on. As Nate takes a swing here, a bullet hits the windshield, leaving a bullet hole in it, which then Sully later on pushes that windshield down to give them a clearer view. As Nate drives through here, you can see the procedural generation of fences and all the wood splintering in pieces rather than just breaking in chunks. Everything breaks dynamically. The stilts of buildings, as Nate drives through the netting here and you see the washing line, it ties itself to the car and then slowly unravels itself from being driven. You can see the dirt tracks behind the Jeep as it's driving down the road, and then when it goes into the highly dense area of the marketplace, it just goes to town on the amount of physics and dynamic action from the NPCs as they run out of the way to try and get out of Sully and Nate smashing through. And again, it just highlights the amount of impressive action. Everything that breaks and gets hit reacts dynamically to its weight and assets.
Great idea, Nate. Do you want to drive? Oh, you're doing just fine.
See? I got it.
And all the witty one-liners and contextual animation is in the game. You can see Sully reacting differently with his arm on the back of the seat, holding himself steady, the animation of Nate changing gear as he's driving and the weight shifting around as they do. You can see the fuel canister at the back reacting to the physics of the drive as they're bumping up and down. It slides back and forth and wobbles along with the aerial. When they drive through the Jeep here, you can see them landing on the roof of the cars. They're all deformed as Nate lands on them. And then even further still, when they get further down the road, they go through the mudslide. You can see actually the vehicle goes in clean and white, but as they're driving through the mud, the decals start to build up on the car and the mud builds as they're driving through it, and it just slowly splashes over it before they break through the stack of bricks at the end. Every little thing that you ever would notice has been picked up by Naughty Dog predominantly here, and it just leaves other people in the shade in that context. Even the mirrors of the Jeep reflect Nate and Sully in at times when they're driving down the road. And again, the whole design of the game is that you can always see where you need to go with a clear marker and no HUD or visible flags on the game getting in the way of these beautiful vistas.
Holy shit.
We're close. Keep an eye out for Sam.
Hey, I think that's him. Right there.
Hold on!
Now there is a second section to this demo that lasts around another further 8 minutes or so that is meant to be even more impressive and mouth-watering than what we've seen here. Now the chance of releasing this between now and Gamescom are probably slim. It may be held off to Gamescom. If I ever get hold of a copy or I manage to get to see it, I will certainly do a video, but I expect this to be released at some time soon to see how it works. But you've got a glimpse of it from the trailer from E3, which you can see here with Nate on the back of the motorcycle with his brother Sam sliding underneath, the fight, jumping off the Jeep. Again, you can see the decals on the enemies and Nate covered in mud. They're being dragged at the back of the truck with the slide here is just superb. Again, I can't wait to see this, but we'll have to wait that little bit longer. I think all in all, Naughty Dog showed yet again that they can just push the bar that little bit higher and leave people aghast, and this demonstration is their best yet. Anyway, I've talked enough. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps me immensely. I shall cover far more games from E3, and my E3 review will be up tomorrow. Hope you guys and girls enjoy it. You take care, and I'll see you very soon on the next one.
Nate! Nate!
Here, take the wheel.
What? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Yep, probably. Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, crap. Hang on, Nathan!
Got this, I got this!
I don't got this!